Every alien empire had the same rule drilled into cadets: never enter human space. But arrogance is a universal language, and someone always thinks the warnings don't apply to them. Today, the proudest empire in the Orion Arm just learned why the galaxy whispers our name. Every academy in the galaxy had the same line printed on the first page of its cadet handbook: never enter human space. It wasn't written in bold, nor surrounded with flashing warnings, yet it carried the weight of a whispered legend. Everyone heard it. Everyone ignored it, until they didn't come back. The Veari Dominion had no patience for whispers. They were aristocrats of war, feathers lacquered in ceremonial oils, their fleets gleaming with trophies from conquered worlds. They believed rules were meant for weaker species, for those content with survival instead of conquest. To them, humans were a campfire myth told by trembling merchants. And myths were made to be mocked. Primitive primates, Grand Regent Thalos sneered, his crest rising in disdain as the council chamber's holofeed displayed Earth's region of space. A single dust ball with tribal colonies scattered about. They lack fleets. They lack strength. They lack significance. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, some approving, others uneasy. The galaxy's older powers shifted in their seats but said nothing. No one wanted to remind the Dominion of history. No one wanted to mention the fleets that never returned. At the far end of the table sat Captain Elias Ward, humanity's representative. He wasn't armored, feathered, or crowned. Just a man in a neat black uniform, collar buttoned, hands folded politely before him. If he felt the sting of Thalos insults, he didn't show it. Instead, he smiled as if enjoying a private joke. Ward's voice was calm, pleasant, the kind you'd expect from a dinner host rather than a strategist. Grand Regent, I suppose you've heard the old Earth saying, your funeral. I admit, it loses a bit in translation. Several alien delegates chuckled awkwardly, unsure if it was humor or threat. Ward let the ambiguity linger, sipping from a porcelain mug he'd brought with him. Coffee, humans and their bitter brews. Thalos slammed a Talon fist on the table. Do not insult us with riddles, human. We will enter your so-called forbidden zone and prove the galaxy's fears baseless. The Dominion will chart your stars, plunder your relics, and remind every world who rules this arm of the spiral. Ward tilted his head, expression still perfectly mild. Of course. I only ask that you bring enough ships. It would be such a shame to cut your demonstration short. The Veari delegation erupted in laughter. They thought the man absurd, his calmness a mask for weakness. Yet something in the way he delivered those words, soft, measured, with the tone of a man offering directions to the gallows, left a strange chill in the chamber. One of the smaller delegates, a crystalline Shirvan ambassador, whispered to a colleague, "Why does he smile like that? As if he already knows." Ward caught the glance, raised his mug in a toast, and added, "We humans do enjoy surprises. It's part of our cultural charm." Later, in the docking bay, Ward watched the Veari fleet power up for its demonstration. Dozens of battleships glimmered with energy shields, their hulls carved with golden inscriptions of past victories. The aliens marched aboard with the pomp of a parade. A younger alien officer from another species, nervous and curious, approached Ward. "Human, do you not fear them? They are the Dominion. They've erased civilizations larger than yours." Ward's reply was gentle, conversational, almost kind. "Fear? No. Fear is what you feel when you don't know the outcome. I already do." He gave a small shrug. "It's not arrogance. Just experience." The officer frowned, unsettled. "Experience with what?" "Graveyards," Ward said simply. The Dominion fleet left orbit with thunderous engines, their departure broadcast across the galaxy. Commentators called it historic. Finally, the mystery of Earth's forbidden zone would be put to rest. Surely, nothing awaited them but empty rocks and outdated satellites. Ward remained in his quarters, calm as a monk, sorting through mission reports. When the Galactic Newsnet shoved a microphone in his face, he answered with a grin. "You think they'll find anything, Captain?" "Oh yes," he said. "They'll find plenty. but not the kind of treasure they're hoping for. Hours later, the first reports arrived. The Veyari ships had entered the solar boundary. Earth hung before them like a blue marble, serene and silent. They mocked its simplicity. Broadcasts showed officers sneering at the quaint, human world. One commander joked, "Perhaps we'll tax their livestock first." Laughter filled the transmission. Ward watched the feed in silence, standing with arms folded behind his back. To anyone else, he looked like a teacher observing unruly students. Then, without warning, the broadcast turned to static. At first, the galactic audience assumed technical failure. A storm, perhaps. But seconds stretched into minutes. Other signals vanished. Transponders dimmed. The Dominion's proud fleet, 60 ships strong, was simply gone. Council chambers erupted. "Impossible!" shouted one delegate. "They can't all vanish." Another demanded answers, wings fluttering with agitation. Ward waited until the noise reached its peak. Then he spoke, voice steady as a surgeon's scalpel. "You see, this is why we suggest the rule. It's not that we don't enjoy visitors. We just don't enjoy cleaning up afterward." The chamber went still. His smile had not changed, but now, stripped of charm, it resembled something else entirely. Patience sharpened into menace. The next day, Regent Thalos himself confronted Ward in private. His feathers, once pristine, were ragged with fury. "What trick is this, human? What device hides your weapons? Tell me." Ward calmly poured himself another mug of coffee, steam curling in the air. "Trick? No. We don't play tricks. We prepare. We wait. And when the time comes, we don't hesitate." He took a sip, as if savoring the bitterness. Thalos hissed, "You dare threaten the Dominion?" Ward met his gaze, polite as ever. "Threaten? No, Regent. I would never." He set the mug down and leaned forward slightly, eyes calm, voice quiet. "Consider this advice. Stay away from our space. It isn't healthy for trespassers." The words held no raised volume, no dramatic emphasis. Yet Thalos recoiled as though struck. Because for the first time in his gilded reign, he felt the cold certainty of a predator speaking not to boast, but to promise. That night, as the galaxy whispered about the vanished fleet, Ward stood at the observation deck, gazing at the stars. To the untrained eye, nothing had changed. Constellations glittered, silent and eternal. But he knew better. Somewhere beyond those stars, in orbits only humans tracked, something had awakened. And the Dominion had just stepped on the welcome mat. The galaxy thrives on gossip. Fleets vanish, rumors multiply, and soon the event feels less like history and more like theater. When the Veyari Dominion's proud armada disappeared inside human space, the news spread like wildfire across comm networks. Markets crashed. Old enemies celebrated. Scholars drafted theories ranging from black holes to human witchcraft. Only one fact was certain. 60 ships entered, none returned. In the Dominion capital, outrage replaced grief. The Regent could not admit defeat, not publicly. Pride demanded escalation. If the first wave vanished, then the second wave would roar so loudly the galaxy forgot the silence. The council chambers buzzed with anxious voices as reports of the Dominion's response fleet reached them. Twice the size of the first, bristling with elite war cruisers, broadcasting every step on open channels. They wanted an audience. A nervous reptilian delegate leaned toward Captain Ward. Surely your people will not survive this. 120 ships, human. No world could." Ward's answer came with a smile so disarmingly polite it might have belonged at a dinner table. "Oh, we'll survive. The real question is, will they?" The delegate recoiled, his scales rippling uneasily. He had asked a question expecting reassurance. Instead, he received prophecy. Across the chamber, Regent Thalos' feathers spread wide in pride. "We will show the galaxy that human warnings are lies. The Dominion bows to no superstition." His voice rose like a sermon. Every ship transmits live. The galaxy will watch humans stripped bare. Ward turned to face him, voice calm. Careful, Regent. When you film a tragedy, you make the ending part of your reputation. The Los sneered. Your words will be forgotten. Ours will be recorded forever. Ward's reply was a whisper, but sharp enough to cut the silence. So will the screams. When the Second Fleet crossed the threshold of human space, broadcasts flowed to every corner of the galaxy. Screens showed row upon row of Dominion ships, banners of conquest unfurled, officers strutting with practiced arrogance. Commentators provided play-by-play like sport announcers. The Dominion has entered Mars orbit. Sensors show nothing. No resistance yet. Ward watched the broadcast with hands clasped behind his back, posture crisp, expression unreadable. A young envoy beside him struggled to contain her nerves. Captain, forgive me, but if you have defenses, why not display them? Why let the Dominion mock you? Ward's smile flickered with something between amusement and pity. Because it's funnier this way. The envoy blinked. Funnier? This is war. Oh no, Ward corrected gently. This is theater. And the Dominion insisted on selling tickets. On the feed, the Dominion officers jeered at Earth's silence. One mocked the blue oceans as mere puddles. Another suggested turning the moon into a pleasure palace. Their voices carried across the galaxy, arrogance amplified by open broadcast. Ward listened in silence until one commander declared, "See? Empty skies. The humans are cowards." He finally spoke, to no one in particular. Cowards don't build graveyards this large. The envoy beside him shivered, though the room was warm. Minutes passed. Then hours. The fleet reported no resistance, no human warships, no orbital platforms. The Regent's Council beamed with smug victory. "See," he cried. "The humans hide behind shadows. Their threats are empty." But then the feed glitched. At first, the image stuttered. Ships blurred. Signals jittered. Analysts claimed interference. A solar storm perhaps. But Ward stood straighter, eyes narrowing, as though listening to music only he could hear. One by one, the Dominion signals cut. Screens filled with static. Open channels fell silent. Commentators choked mid-sentence. Delegates shouted over one another. What happened? Where are the ships? Did humans attack? Ward waited for the uproar to swell before answering. His voice slipped into the chaos like a scalpel through flesh. They reached the garden. We don't appreciate guests who trample the roses. The words hung in the chamber like smoke. Regent the Los, feathered crown trembling with rage, slammed his claws on the table. Trickery. Some hidden device devours our signals. Admit it, human. What technology have you concealed? Wormholes? Black suns? Ward turned toward him, still perfectly calm. Regent, when you step into a storm, does the rain owe you an explanation? Thalos' eyes blazed. You threaten the Dominion with storms? Ward leaned forward slightly, voice dropping to a conversational murmur. No, Regent. I'm reminding you what happens when you forget your umbrella. Several delegates exchanged uneasy looks. The man wasn't shouting, wasn't blustering. He was sipping coffee and comparing extinction to weather. That calm was more terrifying than the static. After the Second Fleet vanished, panic rippled across the galaxy. Insurance markets collapsed. Shipping lanes rerouted entire sectors to avoid the human quarantine zone. Border colonies muttered prayers, hoping humans stayed inside their cage. Ward, however, carried himself like a man watching clockwork unfold. When reporters cornered him, demanding answers, he answered with a shrug. You want to know what happened to the fleet? Simple. They went where all the others went. History. But Captain, one journalist pressed, the Dominion sent double the ships. Ward interrupted gently. Yes. Twice as much history. Behind closed doors, alien envoys pleaded with him. A Chervan delegate spoke, crystalline body trembling. Tell us, human, what lies in your stars? Weapons beyond comprehension? Ancient machines? Tell us. Ward's eyes softened. For a moment, he almost looked compassionate. You want the truth? The truth is worse than weapons. The truth is patience. And patience is something humans perfected long before we ever left Earth. He stood, adjusted his uniform, and bowed slightly. Now if you'll excuse me, I should prepare tea. Something tells me our guests will be late. That night, the stars above Earth shimmered unchanged, but the galaxy could no longer pretend ignorance. 2 fleets gone, erased without wreckage, without survivors, without even a cry for help. The Dominion still blustered, pride demanding retaliation. Yet across the stars, other species whispered a different thought. Maybe the rule was never superstition. Maybe the warning was mercy. The Dominion called for vengeance. The galaxy called for answers. 2 fleets gone, over 100 ships erased without debris, survivors, or distress calls. The news spread faster than light itself. Markets collapsed, border worlds sealed their skies, and smugglers swore they would never drift near Earth's star again. Yet the only ones who refused to believe were the Veari themselves. Pride chained them to denial. In the council chamber, chaos reigned. Delegates bickered, some demanding sanctions on humanity, others pleading to quarantine the entire Sol system. Arguments clashed like blades, but the man at the center of it all, Captain Elias Ward, remained seated, calm as ever, sipping coffee that steamed in the cold air of the chamber. Enough! Regent Thelos roared, feathers flaring in indignation. The Dominion will not be humiliated by primitive shadows. We will send our armada, every ship, every weapon. Humanity will be scoured from the stars. Gasps spread. Even Thalos allies froze at the declaration. To commit the entire Dominion fleet meant risking their empire itself. Ward's response was a polite smile. That seems excessive. Though I suppose if you're determined to put all your eggs in one basket, at least the basket will be easy to carry. A ripple of nervous laughter passed through the chamber before dying under Thalos' glare. Mock us again, human, and I'll see you. Ward cut in smoothly, voice quiet but sharper than any blade. Regent, if I mocked you, you'd know. This is advice. And advice, you'll notice, is free. What it costs to ignore it is something else entirely. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. Outside the council, whispers flooded comm channels. Humans are hiding something. They must have cloaked fleets. Traps around their sun. No, ancient machines, older than their species. They found them, and now they use them. Or worse, maybe it's them. Maybe they don't need machines. Speculation spiraled into fear. Every civilization had myths of predators lurking in the dark, patient hunters waiting for arrogance to stumble close. For the first time, many wondered if humans were not prey pretending to be civilized, but predators pretending to be prey. Ward walked the corridors of the station like a man on holiday, nodding pleasantly to terrified envoys. When questioned, he gave half-answers that sounded more like riddles than strategy. A chitinous Rallic ambassador cornered him one evening. Tell me the truth, human. What became of those fleets? Were they destroyed? Captured? Absorbed? Ward's smile carried no warmth. What happens to raindrops when they hit the ocean? The Rallic blinked, mandibles clacking. They vanish. Precisely. Ward walked away without another word. Meanwhile, hidden networks buzzed with intercepted data. Fragments suggesting Dominion ships had been seen again, stripped of insignia, their transponders altered, drifting in deep orbit near Neptune. Ghost fleets. Silent. Waiting. The implication chilled every strategist. When a trembling envoy asked Ward directly if it was true, his reply was deceptively casual. We're fond of recycling. It's a very sustainable habit. Humor still clung to his words, but no one laughed anymore. Even his quirks, the way he sipped bitter coffee, the way he used metaphors aliens barely understood, now felt sinister. A simple line about football strategy unsettled entire councils. Sometimes, Ward said during one debate, you let the other team sprint the field. Let them believe they're winning. Then, just when they're overconfident, you throw long. Game over. Confused silence followed. Only one translator dared to ask, and who is the ball? Ward's grin was razor-thin. Why, the enemy, of course. Despite mounting fear, the Veari refused retreat. The more the galaxy trembled, the louder the regent roared. We cannot back down. If we yield to superstition, our empire is ash. One of his advisers whispered urgently, but Regent, what if the humans? The Los silenced him with a lash of his wing. No myths will cow the Dominion. We are the storm. Ward's voice drifted across the chamber, calm as rainfall. Funny thing about storms, they always pass. But the sea remains. Behind closed doors, a coalition of terrified delegates confronted Ward directly. Captain, a crystalline Chavan stammered, why warn them? Why not show your power openly and end this farce? Ward rested his mug on the table, fingers drumming lightly on ceramic. Because predators don't roar before the kill. They wait. They watch. Then they strike when the prey believes itself safe. You speak as though humanity is hunting the Dominion, another accused. Ward met their eyes one by one, the smile never faltering. Not hunting. Teaching. Some lessons, you see, must be written in blood to be remembered. The words silenced them more thoroughly than any weapon. Across the galaxy, civilians began treating the Sol system like cursed ground. Merchants rerouted trade by months to avoid it. Pilgrims whispered prayers when passing near human colonies. Even warlords grew cautious, hesitant to send raiders too close. But the Dominion prepared its armada. Ward stood at the observation deck the night the reports arrived. Thousands of Veari ships, massing for a single thrust into human territory. He regarded the glowing formation markers with the expression of a chess player watching his opponent line up every piece for the final move. An aide approached nervously. Captain, it's their whole fleet. They mean to erase Earth itself. Ward exhaled, almost wistful. Ah, good. That saves us the trouble of chasing them down later. You're not afraid? He shook his head. Fear is wasted energy. Better to enjoy the quiet before the storm. Trust me, after tomorrow, quiet will be in short supply. The galaxy held its breath. The Dominion had wagered everything. Humanity had revealed nothing. 2 vanished fleets remained unexplained. And in the middle of it all, one man in a black uniform smiled as if he had already read the final page. The Dominion armada eclipsed the stars. Thousands of ships, layered in formation like a steel tide, surged toward Sol. Carriers, dreadnoughts, siege barges, all gleamed with the arrogance of a fleet convinced of its invincibility. On council broadcasts, alien commentators spoke in hushed tones, narrating history in real time. Never before has the Dominion mobilized its entire military for one strike. If humanity survives this... None finished the thought. Survival seemed unthinkable. In the observation chamber, Captain Elias Ward stood alone, hands folded behind his back. The human envoy's calmness unsettled every diplomat who watched the feed. While they shifted nervously in their seats, Ward sipped his coffee as if waiting for a train. They come, murmured a Chavan delegate beside him. Every ship they own. Do you not fear this? Ward tilted his head. Fear? No. Pity, perhaps. Pity? He gestured at the tactical display. They brought everything. Every blade, every shield, every ounce of pride. Which means when this ends, they'll have nothing left. The first wave pierced Neptune's orbit. Vast carrier groups launched swarms of drones. Sensors screamed across human channels. Still, no human fleet moved to intercept. No missiles launched. Earth lay ahead, silent, vulnerable. Regent Thalos himself transmitted from his flagship, voice broadcast across the stars. People of the galaxy, bear witness. The Dominion cleanses weakness. Today, we erase the lie of humanity. Ward's response was carried on a much smaller channel, barely audible against Thalos' roar. But those who heard it never forgot. Funny thing about lies, Ward said softly. They work best when you know they're lies. The dangerous ones are the truths no one wanted to believe. The Dominion crossed Saturn's orbit. Their fleet stretched across the void like a wall of iron. And still, nothing. No resistance. No defense. Just the distant blue dot of Earth, hanging in the black. Then the stars themselves blinked. One by one, signatures emerged. First faint, then undeniable. Colossal outlines shimmered into existence across the system. Ships larger than anything the Dominion had ever catalogued. Black armored hulls, silent as tombs, decloaked around every planet, every moon, every orbit. Gasps shook the council chamber. Some delegates staggered to their feet, unable to breathe. The silence of centuries shattered in an instant. Ward didn't look at the display. He didn't need to. He merely set down his coffee and straightened his uniform. "Allow me to introduce," he said, "the Earth Reserve Fleet. Old friends. Very patient." The Dominion Armada faltered, formations breaking as captains shouted conflicting orders. Their sensors couldn't count the human vessels fast enough. For every Dominion ship, 5 human warships drifted in position. Some bore designs so ancient they should not have functioned, others looked impossibly advanced, bristling with weapons the galaxy had no names for. A Veari commander's panic transmission leaked to every channel. "This is impossible. These ships do not exist. They cannot exist." Ward finally turned to the display, eyes narrowing. "Existence," he said, "isn't a matter of permission." The first strike came without fanfare. No warnings, no hails. Just light. Human beams carved through the Dominion front lines, slicing carriers in half before their drones could return. Dreadnoughts crumpled under kinetic strikes that traveled faster than their shields could cycle. Whole squadrons vanished in storms of fire. The Dominion retaliated with everything they had. Missile waves streaked across the void. Plasma lances cut through the black. But the human fleet absorbed it all, shields flaring, formations shifting with machine precision. For every human hull scarred, 10 Dominion ships went silent. Ward's voice cut through the chaos, not raised, not urgent, just steady. "Remember, storms pass. The sea remains." On the Council's live feed, the annihilation unfolded like a grim ballet. Alien delegates who had demanded humanity's punishment now sat frozen, faces reflecting fire from distant screens. A crystalline envoy whispered, "They never lost Earth. They never feared invasion. They invited it." Another, trembling, asked, "Captain Ward, when did you plan this?" Ward glanced at them with polite surprise. "Plan? My dear friend, this isn't a plan. This is tradition." Hours passed, though it felt like moments. The Dominion fleet, once a symbol of unmatched power, shrank to wreckage. Some ships attempted retreat, but human vessels shadowed every jump vector, cutting them down before they could flee. In the end, Regent Thalos' flagship drifted alone, shields failing, hull ablaze. He transmitted one final message, fury straining into despair. "You, humans, you were prey. You were nothing. How did we not see?" Ward's reply carried no malice, no triumph, just quiet finality. "Predators survive by being underestimated. You saw exactly what we wanted you to see." The flagship broke apart in silence. And then, nothing. The battlefield grew still, littered with Dominion wreckage. Where once a tide of steel had threatened Earth, only ashes remained. Across the galaxy, silence reigned. Markets halted. Armies froze mid-drill. Whole empires stared at their screens and felt a shiver that reached bone. Ward picked up his coffee again, though it had gone cold. He sipped anyway, grimaced, and muttered, "Always too bitter after the fight." Turning to the council, he spoke with the same measured tone he'd carried from the beginning. "The Dominion is gone. Humanity remains. Remember this balance. One alien dared ask, voice breaking, if you can destroy an empire, what is it you want? Ward studied him for a long moment before answering. Want? Nothing. Need? Even less. But if arrogance leads another fleet to Earth, you'll find the sea unchanged. And the sea, he set his cup down, always takes back what enters it. That night, no delegate dared speak against him. No empire plotted retaliation. The galaxy had witnessed extinction unfold in a single battle. And from that day forward, one unspoken law passed across every star system.